Mashiach could come today. What happens if Mashiach comes today? We still might have time to offer the carbon Pesach, Sheni, right? So we got to be serious about this. There's mamish matters at hand, serious biblical matters at hand. So it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I'm a serious guy. So here's the deal. These are mamish pressing matters. So the Tzemach Tzedek, diber pam bedaber bias HaMashiach v'zman kazeh shalav nemar she'en Mashiach baz az. So one time, the Tzemach Tzedek was talking about a time when the Gemara says Mashiach can't come then, right? Mashiach's not supposed to come on Shabbos. Basically, people are in a Tirchav Shabbos or Erev Shabbos. So the idea is that there's certain times Mashiach's not supposed to come. And someone said, "Hayitachin, is it possible that there's like a day in the calendar that the Gemara says that day Mashiach's not going to come?" It does speak about that. Nemar, he has a famous answer. Maybe we've said it probably many times together. She'ein hu ba bizman hazeh. How can it come? They asked the Tzemach Tzedek. The Mashiach can't come at a certain time. And the Tzemach Tzedek said, first of all, let him come. And when he comes, he'll answer this question just like he's going to answer all of the questions that we have piled up for him, right? That's what it says, teku. You know what means teku in the Gemara? Tashbi, yitaretz, kushios va'abayos. Tashbi, who's the Tashbi? Eliyahu HaTishbi, the Tishbi, sorry. So the Tishbi is called Eliyahu Navi. And whenever you get to a little teku in the Gemara, what you're actually saying is Eliyahu will come and answer all of our questions. So when it says let it stand, that's not what it means. It means that we're waiting to get an answer from Eliyahu Navi on that one. It always comes at the end of a doubt, and we're not really sure what to do with this. It plays in halacha when there's a teku in the Gemara. They have to paskin based on the suffix, but the reality is that he's going to come and answer all of our questions. He'll answer this one too. Why Mashiach came when he wasn't supposed to. And therefore, even according to those poskim who hold that today's Sfiras HaOmer is only midrabanan, which mind you, now you just heard that there's some opinions that right now the mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer is actually doraisa. And there's some opinions that say it's only midrabanan. When there's no temple, when there's no omer, that our count is only midrabanan. Ultimately, Alter Rebbe paskins that way. But so even those who paskin that our counting now is only midrabanan, and that's why he says harachamanu yachzir lanu avodas beis hamikdash b'meiru v'yameinu. If you notice, you throw that little line in there right after you count the sphere. Ever notice that? Never noticed that? Every night you're up to 29 times. Right? So every time you say, and what does that mean? Harachaman, you're addressing Hashem. Please return the avodah of the Beis Hamikdash. Why do you say that suddenly after counting Sfiras HaOmer? What's the shaychus? Why do you say it after put on tefelin? Because you're saying basically, I want to do this mitzvah in deraisa. Like right now, thank you, I did the mitzvah, but it's only midrabanan, according to most opinions. But so right away, after you say the Sfiras HaOmer, you right away pray for the building of the Beis Hamikdash so you can continue this mitzvah. And that's interesting, according to what Rebbe is saying here, you will be able to continue this mitzvah midaraisa if Mashiach will come today. So right away after you count it, since you just counted all these days midrabanan, and Rabbanan counts as a counting, so you can pray that Mashiach should come and you should continue this mitzvah midaraisa. Anyway, so he says, according to these poskim, it's only midrabanan, right? We now know that should Mashiach comes, we could continue to count with a bracha if we suddenly all of a sudden, Bezrat Hashem, tonight, become obligated to count Sfiras HaOmer, Midaraisa. The Rebbe just sorted that out for us. By the way, Tishbi is going to come and answer all of our questions. He just answered one, right? What do we do when it comes to Sfiras HaOmer? Mashiach suddenly comes. We're in the middle of Sfiras HaOmer. We're going to get caught with our pants down. Thank God, the Rebbe answered it. You can count with a bracha. Okay, so then he goes on to say, Nemar b'divrei Chazal, the sages said, and the Ramban marchiv b'zeh es hadibur. The Ramban apparently goes on and on about this. Mitzvahs hamiskaimus ata einam ela tziyunim lemitzvahs da'asi. Unfortunately, the mitzvahs we have now, they're not really the mitzvahs. Like we say that in Musaf every day, we say we want to do the mitzvahs kirtzonecha. We want to do the real mitzvahs, right? In a certain sense, like the whole organization of mitzvahs today, according to the Ramban, is really just in order to not forget what mitzvahs really are. Because until we have all the mitzvahs and the whole shleimus of the Torah, having a part of it is like you don't have any of it all. It's a little bit of a weird thing. We can't really do even the mitzvahs we can do in the proper way, which could be depressing. Right? As it says, Sham na'aseh lefanecha mitzvahs ketzornecha. Right? We say, as I just mentioned in Musaf, we say there. In other words, when Mashiach comes, when the temple, then we'll be able to do the mitzvahs, even the ones we have now, in accordance with your real will. Only in the future the mitzvahs will be in accordance with your will. I don't mean to get anyone worked up, but the Rebbe is coming to solve our broken heart over this. Aval mitzvahs and miskayim ata, he says the mitzvahs we do now, einam b'tachlis hashleimus. You cannot do a perfect mitzvah today, even the ones that you have. And they're ka'ein hachana l'mitzvah shla'asi. They're basically like a preparation for the mitzvahs of the future. Im zos, however, based on all we said, he says, ein la'am'it chas v'shalom es chashivusan shel mitzvah shla'ata. But however, God forbid, because of this, you should not diminish the importance of the mitzvahs that we have now. Shekein al yedan efshar le'agil mitzvah shla'asi. Because what did we just learn? That only because this person counted the rabbinic mitzvah means that when suddenly Mashiach comes, he'll be able to do the mitzvahs properly. In other words, if he didn't do the mitzvahs, midrabanan of Sfiras HaOmer, when suddenly Mashiach comes, he's stuck, right? He could have said, well, it's only mitzvah midrabanan, what good is it? You'll show us what good it is. If you didn't have that preparation, you actually cannot do mitzvahs kirtzonecha when the time comes. So the mitzvahs that we have, so to speak, only right now as a preparation, it's not like, oh, they're only a preparation. It's because of this preparation that when the time comes, we'll be actually prepared to be able to do the mitzvahs properly. You understand what he's saying there? It's kind of awesome. Yeah. And then he says, excuse me, one second, let me just finish. And he says, Hagorim ladavar misuyam naila min adavar. And then he points out that something that causes something else is a basic, like, logical principle. If one thing that causes another thing to happen is in a certain level, by definition, higher than that thing. Because how can you get to the place if it wasn't caused? The cause is, in a certain sense, the source, and therefore, in a certain sense, greater than the effect. So since our rabbinic mitzvahs and our, so to speak, half-baked mitzvahs are the cause of our ability to do the mitzvahs in the future, they're really greater than the mitzvahs of the future. That's what he's trying to say. Beyond that, it's going to be like a whole different level of godliness that's associated with these mitzvahs, but it would never be able to be there unless we did the work now. And all he's saying is that this point, which is true by all mitzvahs, the Rebbe just gave a whole mamish, like, peel pool in Nigla to explain to you that at least in this one mitzvah, you can totally see it, right? You couldn't do the mitzvah deraisa, the perfect mitzvah of Mashiach, unless you did these mitzvahs now. He's just pointing this out as an example of how all the mitzvahs are. Right? With this, it's a chachana for Matan Torah. V'davka this fear. Oh, and by the way, what is the mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer? Anyway, it's a preparation for Matan Torah. So this is the perfect example to use, because anyway, the whole mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer to begin with, despite the fact that it itself has the idea within its mitzvah of a preparation and then the real one, the entire mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer is just a preparation for Matan Torah, which is essentially a metaphor for Mashiach. So it's the whole mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer is the concept of preparing for the real thing. And in this we see that without the preparation, you can't have the real thing. You're not going to get Matan Torah unless you do the Sfira. And he says, only by our count now can we count in the future with a blessing. Here we see that the advantage of our avoda in the time of Gullus. As it says in Chazal, and this is expounded on greatly in many, many places in Chassidus, but here too, it's greater one moment of tshuva and good deeds in this world than all the life of the world to come. In other words, even though we don't see all the magic and we're not experiencing all this, we're causing all this to happen. We talked about this recently. Because we don't see it, and because we're doing the mitzvahs, and someone's going to say, oh, it's not even a real mitzvah, it's only midrabban, and you might say, what does it mean? It's nothing. And yet we're going to do it anyway because we're these nudnik Jews that, like, you can't keep us away from godliness even if you're going to tell us it's not the real thing. We're in. So this avoda of tshuva and ma'asim tovim in OlamHaze, when there's no light, there's no revelation, it's greater than all the life of the world to come. L'chaim.